This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FI Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business and politics and think tank that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is my dear friend, Neera Tenden. Neera is a source of the strength for all of us, source of inspiration to all of us. Welcome to our show, Neera.
Great to be here with you, Frank.
Good to see you.
Great to see you.
Before I start out, tell me a little about yourself.
Well, I'm president of the Center for American Progress, which is a think tank in Washington. We're one of the largest think tanks at this point. We work on all kinds of issues, national security, economic policy, domestic policy. We even have a significant India program. And so I've been president for about 3.5 years now. I'm very excited that
And
the work
before
we do.
that, you worked for the President Obama's.
I did. I worked on healthcare for President Obama, and for many, many years before that, I was a policy advisor for Hillary Clinton.
Wow! So you have been to policy for a long time.
Yeah. Yes, I really engage. I find it interesting every day.
And challenging?
Challenging, and I learn a lot. So it's great. It's great for me.
We can all learn from you. Okay, so Neera, I wanted to talk a little bit about your childhood. As I understand, your mom was in welfare, and you also received subsidized school lunches. How did the childhood experience impact and influence you, who you are today? And did this experience shape your journey, your history, and determine your destiny? And tell me a little bit about your mom. What did she instill in you that you are the best today?
Well, that's a great series of questions, and it's really important to start with my mom.
If I remember, your father divorced your mom.
Yes, my parents did get divorced when I was 5, and I have an older brother who's 10. My mother had never worked before, never worked a day in her life before. She was an Indian immigrant. Both my parents are Indian immigrants. And so when my father left, my mother faced a very stark choice, whether to go back to India, a divorced woman in the mid-1970s, or to stay in the United States. And she chose to stay in the United States, which was a tough decision for her because it forced her to go on welfare. We had to move. We moved from our house into an apartment. We had food stamps. I was the only kid in my class who was using these vouchers for reduced lunch. But it's really a testament to my mom because she, after a few years on welfare, she got a job as a travel agent and an Indian travel agent. The community really kind of helped her,
Good.
and then she went, eventually, a few years later, she got a job at Raytheon, and by the time I was 11, she was able to buy her own house.
Wow.
So, and we all were able to do this because we lived in Bedford, Massachusetts, and I was able to stay in Bedford's good public schools.
Bedford, Massachusetts?
Yes, where they have very, very good public schools. And, I take a real lesson from that, which is, we decry politics and political decisions in Washington, but it really was the decisions of a lot of people in government to create these programs.
So she shaped you who you are today.
She definitely did, but I also have to say policymakers' decisions to help poor people get a ladder up is why I'm here today. It was because I had a strong mother who was able to recover from getting pushed down a few times, but also there were policies there that existed to help someone like me. And so it sounds a little hokey, but I actually think I feel very privileged to work at a place like CAP where we're really focused on expanding opportunity for everybody.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
So that, other kids have the opportunity I did.
How do you remember your mother in terms of her kindness and generosity? What did she instill upon you that shaped you who you are today?
Well, she was very strong. She is a very strong-willed woman. She now lives 5 minutes from us.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Yes.
right down the street, really. And she has a lot of integrity. But the most important thing for us is that even when we were on welfare, even when we were using food stamps, my mom still believed that I could succeed.
Your best days ahead of you,
Yeah.
not behind you, right?
Yes, and then, you know, if I worked hard, if I worked hard in school.
She was a strong, vibrant, resilient.
Yes, and she really, I mean, she really believed in
Great,
both me and my brother.
Now I want to talk about your political views. How did you define your political views, number one? Number two, what does the CAP do? Number three, what have been your accomplishments as president of CAP?
Wow, those are a lot of great questions.
Yeah.
I'll try and take them in order. In terms
Yeah.
terms of
Your
my
political
political
views.
views,
Yeah.
well, I'm a Democrat, and I've worked in politics for a very long time. I worked for Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. I've been privileged to work in both Democratic administrations over the last 15 years. You know, I think it really is because of my biography, because of the way I grew up, that I think it's important for people who've been, who much has been given to, that they also give back. And
So you subscribe to whom much is given, much is expected.
Absolutely. And also, you know, I think.
So it's much more important to give than to make money.
Yeah. And also it's, you know, I feel like I've been very lucky, right? I mean, we have a society that believed in me, you know, didn't just turn away, but believed in me. And so it's important for me to expand that circle to more people, not just take what I can get and move on. So that's part of the reason why I'm a Democrat, because I believe in expanding opportunity to more and more people. And so so that's my journey, how, you know, I look at my background and how it affects my political views. And then at CAP today, we really are.
CAP stands for Center for American Progress.
Yes, CAP
which
stands
is located in Washington, D.C., and the chairman of the board is John Podesta,
Yes,
correct?
for sure, who's now chair of Hillary's campaign.
Yes, he is.
And, you know, but we work on every issue, but at the core, we have particular values. And our core value is expanding opportunity for all Americans, making sure the country is fairer, more just, more equal, and more free. And so, so those are the values.
So it's more inclusiveness?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, when we think about how we can do well economically, we're really focused on.
So the rising tide lifts all boats.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What about
famous president said that once.
Our
Famous
former
president
president
said that.
said. So what about building the middle class? What about income inequality and justice in America that we have so much today?
So I think these are going to be the seminal issues in our time. And in fact, I think the work I'm most proud of at CAP, the work that we've really invested the most in, is on not only an analysis about rising inequality in the country and stagnant wages and a middle class that feels a little under siege, frankly, really squeezed. We've done really important work analyzing that, but we've also put out ideas of how to address that, both, you know, ensuring that people have better access to education, but also that we are improving wages for people. And what I've been really honored by is that candidates, at least on the Democratic side, are taking a lot of our views and incorporating them in their policy platforms. And I think that as we go into a general election, we'll see a real debate in the country about who's going to be better for middle class families in 2017.
So what have been your success stories beside as a person, since you become the president and CEO?
Well, you know, we have focused on larger, longer term ideas. And one of our successes so far has been President Obama, Secretary Clinton taking our ideas and adopting them. The president has taken our ideas on a whole range of issues: education, paid leave, housing, and incorporated them into his policy platform, many of which have actually become law. And then on the issues going forward, whether it's income inequality or wages or ideas around health care, Secretary Clinton and other Democrats have actually taken a lot of our ideas. So, you know, the proof will be if people win and then implement them. But we're proud of the influence we're having on the political debate today.
An impact,
Yes.
impact, and influence on them.
Impact is that, and impact is really part of our mission. Our goal is not to just have ideas,
But should have an impact.
Our goal is to change the direction of the country.
If they succeed, we all of us succeed.
Yes, absolutely. That's the theory of the case.
And America succeeds, right? Now, what do you think has been some of the challenges of this young organization? If I remember correctly, it was founded in 2003.
Yes.
It has grown significantly. And if I remember correctly, when I visited you, said there were several hundred people working there.
Yeah, so we're now at over 300 people.
That's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people.
There are a lot of thinkers, right?
thinkers and communicators.
All of the above.
A lot of policy staff, but also a lot of people getting those ideas out there. I think one of our greatest challenges has been, in our early years, it was establishing ourselves as a kind of responsible go-to voice. And I'm proud of the role that we've had in that. And now I think it's really our biggest challenge is, we have to continue to grow, and that's always tough. But I think our biggest challenge is to maintain the sense of a startup, to still be entrepreneurial every day, still work hard, innovate in every direction, not only in the ideas we have, but how we communicate them, how we do our work, at the same time that we're now a much more established organization. It's a challenge for many organizations as they grow, but I'm excited by the fact that we still see, we still are to some degree at the epicenter of ideas within the Democratic Party and progressive politics, and that makes me proud of the work we've done.
So what distinguishes you from other think tanks in the Washington, D.C. area or United States? What do you have that they don't have it?
Well, we're the only organization that's multidisciplinary, that works across every issue, but also has an ideological bent. We are progressive, but and finally, that's really focused not just on producing ideas.
Progressive. What does that mean to the audience?
Yeah, progressive is, some people would say liberal, we say progressive, but the idea of it really is what values are animating our work. It's not important just to have the right idea here and there, but to ensure that the ideas we put forward are expanding opportunity for all Americans, ensuring that.
So providing them economic mobility.
Economic mobility, making sure we're more just.
Equal opportunity.
That our politics are inclusive.
Yes.
All these values animate our work, and at the end of the day, though, that the most important thing is that we have ideas around how to solve the country's most significant problems, and that's what's exciting.
What are the most significant problems this country is facing that we become a solution to those problem solvers should become, and that's what we should be doing? What are the problems most important that we are facing today in America?
I think the challenge around economic growth and how to get it more broadly shared. Some people call that rising inequality. Some people call that a middle class squeeze. I think the central challenge is
the gap between the people who have who do not have is widening.
Yes, it's widening, but also the people in the middle are falling more and more behind. And I think that's really a challenge from an economic growth perspective.
So you want to reignite, re-energize, invigorate the middle class.
Yes,
Americans.
Absolutely. Very well stated. But we want to ensure that the middle class is moving forward, that wages are moving up, that more and more people have more income versus what's been happening over really the last 15 years, which is wages have been pretty much standing still as costs have gone up. And I think that's really what's animating our politics today. People have less faith in institutions because they're so worried about how they're doing. And that's a big challenge for politics going into 2016.
So that's the one part. What about immigration reform?
Well, that's a significant issue for us, but we also see immigration reform as part of this challenge. Because,
that is a true statement.
Because
it will create jobs, it will build prosperity.
And also, the more you bring people out of the shadows, the more their income will
create
go
more
up,
opportunities.
And it'll create more opportunities. And also, the more that we have an established system that allows people from around the world to come in who are willing to work hard,
aim high,
and
pursue their dream,
contribute to the economy, just like you did and my parents did, and both have contributed in their way to the American economy. We're more vibrant because of the diversity that we have. And those are the values that animate our immigration work. And we also think climate is a significant challenge.
Yes, and I know John Podesta has been very much involved in it.
Absolutely.
What do you think is the issues that the other side of the aisle, in this case Republicans, are talking about, that they're not taking it seriously in terms of the climate issue? They don't think there is any issue here.
Yeah, I mean, climate is an important one where the parties are just so different, and so many Republicans are.
So they're not listening to the scientists? They should be listening to the scientists, and they're telling them that.
I think they're proudly proclaiming they're not listening to the scientists at this point. But so that's climate is a huge issue. But the Republican Party now, their leading candidate one of their many leading candidates, but he does seem to be doing the best, is Donald Trump, who has a very anti-immigrant message. I worry about what that kind of politics does in our country and the message it sends. But, I think the most important thing is to put forward a positive agenda of what you want to do for the country. And I think Hillary's doing that, and other Democrats are as well.
So if you were elected as a senator tomorrow, would you go and the immigration reform that was passed by Senate, if you're elected in the House, would you go and vote for it?
Absolutely. I think, immigration reform has really become, it's really kind of a no-brainer at this point. I mean, we see economic analysis after economic analysis that shows that immigrants actually contribute to the economy. They help economic growth. Immigration reform will reduce our deficit. It's really an ideological issue now. And even many business leaders recognize the importance of immigration reform.
Well, a lot of business community, especially the IT companies, Bill Gates and everybody else are talking about trying to attract and retain the good qualified 21st century workforce.
For sure, but it's not even just tech, it's the entire economy will do better.
Do you think the people, why is union against the, obviously the immigration in some cases, and also for the lower wages, not the higher wages, and also against the trade? We just
so
it just got passed.
Unions. So actually, we've done a lot of work on this. Unions have really shifted on immigration reform. AFL-CIO, SEIU, others are much more in favor. In fact, are lobbying in favor of immigration reform. They were definitely negative in the past, but I think they recognize actually that wages will move up if you bring people out of the shadows, and it'll help their workers. On trade, they have been very anti-trade. And I think
not all of them.
Not all of them, but I think the challenge on the trade debate within the Democratic Party is that this issue we were talking about, which is wage stagnation, has been a really profound problem. The bottom 90% of families in the United States have not seen a substantial or really significant or meaningful wage increase in 15 years. And so we have that phenomenon happen at the same time you have a trade debate. People become very anxious about globalization at a time when they're feeling very squeezed. It makes it very difficult.
But America can compete with anybody in the world.
Absolutely.
We are the best and the brightest.
Absolutely, but I think the problem is...
But as long as there is a fairness.
Yeah, I think, and people don't feel like the system is free.
That's the point. It's not fair.
People, true or not, people feel like... I think the challenge is most people are anxious about globalization coming from China.
Well, so let's talk about China. Do you think our relationship has been reciprocal with them? The regime that suppresses its own people.
Yes, and I think truthfully, Americans are very anxious about a rising China that seems to try to steal our information over our technology, is aggressive in the South China Sea. I think people are very anxious, and now there's all kinds of challenges in the Chinese market. So I think China will be actually a significant issue over the next couple of years in the political context.
But most of the things about China and their economy has been dependent on manufacturing sector, and the manufacturing sector is mostly from America. A lot of things we have outsourced during the Republican administration. I don't know whether we did that and now some of those jobs are coming back. Because we are reigniting the manufacturing sector in America, which was during the Reagan administration was at 22% of the GDP.
Yeah.
Now our import has increased, and we have a less export. As a result of that, as you probably know, a lot of jobs coming back from China to United States, because I think we are better, we are faster, better, and cheaper, and more cost effective. And
that's in part because of technology. We're using more technology in manufacturing. So, in fact, the height of manufacturing jobs, even in China, was in 1995. So the whole world has fewer manufacturing jobs because more and more of it is done by technology. And that's one of the ways that we are very competitive now with China, because we have, we'll honestly have a lot of robots doing some of these jobs. So, but I think the overall issue with China is that their economy is heavily heavily reliant on the government to do a lot of different things in it. And you
There's a lot of corruption there.
and it's hard to compete, and it's hard to compete for American companies going
They don't
into
give the
China.
opportunity for us to succeed.
And I think that is really a big challenge, which is that
We don't have the access to the market.
It does seem like a little bit of a
It's a one-sided.
street.
It's not a relationship. It's not reciprocal. We have the largest
Absolutely.
deficit with them.
And
as you
also,
know.
we have a very open economy, and they have a
Yeah.
very closed economy. So that is a big challenge, and you can understand why people are frustrated.
So Neera, both of us have a shared history and shared heritage. We are bonded by our background and belief, which is the common. And we also, what I consider.
But you've done so much. So
Well, thank you very much.
That you've widened the path for so many others.
Okay, so my question to you is to the audience: why would anybody, Indian Americans, who are a lot of them out there, they're fairly well off, and they have a wealth as well as the wisdom. What do you tell them? Why should they be engaged politically, and to make sure they have a voice, and to make sure they have a seat on the table? Why should they be engaged politically? And that's something lacking among the South Asian communities.
Yeah, it has been frustrating, I think, over the last
and
couple
challenging.
of years. And challenging. That Indian Americans, South Asian Americans have been a little recalcitrant, a little unwilling to engage politically. And but you see more and more of that. There are many Indian Americans in the Obama administration actually serving, Raj Shah, so many others, a good friend of mine. So, what I say to the community is that decisions will get made. Decisions will get made one way or the other.
And your voices will be not heard. You'll be not
either
part of that equation.
You'll be at the table, or the decisions
You'll be
will
on the menu.
made, and they'll be
Right?
maybe on the menu, maybe not on the menu, but just ignored. And I think it's really important for the Indian community to be engaged in the political process and the civic process, getting engaged with the decisions that Congress, your local legislature are making. And, I think the experience that you've had is that you've been heard on issues. You're very influential in the political process, and it's important for others as well.
You talk about civic engagement, and political engagement is a part of the civic engagement.
Absolutely.
And I think it is a part of our DNA, South Asian, that we must be engaged. We should have a civic engagement.
Yes, absolutely, and we should be. But I think
we should give back to our country.
When any community starts, people are really focused on integrating into the society. But really now we're several generations. We have no excuse.
Thank you very much, Neera, for coming. I enjoyed talking with you. Thank you very much, and thank you for all you do and serving our community and our country. This is Frank Islam wishing you a great week. Thank you very much for watching.